Supposedly, governments were invented to make human life easier and safer. But governments always end up enslaving humanity. That which we create to, quote, serve us, ends up ruling us. The US government, by and for the people, now imprisons millions, takes half the national income by force, overregulates, punishes, tortures, slaughters foreigners, invades countries, overthrows governments, imposes 700 imperialistic bases overseas, inflates the currency, and crushes future generations with massive debts. That which we create to serve us ends up ruling us. When cows are placed in very confining stalls, they beat their heads against the walls, resulting in injuries and infections. Thus farmers now give them more room, not because they want to set their cows free, but rather because they want greater productivity and lower costs. The next stop after free range is not freedom. The rise of state capitalism in the 19th century was actually the rise of free-range serfdom. Additional liberties were granted to the human livestock, not with the goal of setting them free, but rather with the goal of increasing their productivity. The solution to this is additional propaganda, antidepressant medications, superstition, wars, moral campaigns of every kind, the creation of, quote, enemies, the inculcation of patriotism, collective fears, paranoia about outsiders and immigrants, and so on. When you look at a map of the world, you are not looking at countries, but farms. You are allowed certain liberties, limited property ownership, movement rights, freedom of association and occupation, not because your government approves of these rights in principle, since it constantly violates them, but rather because free-range livestock is so much cheaper to own and so much more productive. The recent growth of freedom in China, India, and Asia is occurring because the local state farmers have upgraded their livestock management practices. They have recognized that putting the cows in a larger stall provides the rulers more milk and meat. Rulers have also recognized that if they prevent you from fleeing the farm, you will become depressed, inert, and unproductive. A serf is the most productive when he imagines he is free. Thus, your rulers must provide you the illusion of freedom in order to harvest you most effectively. Thus, you are allowed to leave, but never to real freedom, only to another farm, because the whole world is a farm. They will prevent you from taking a lot of money, they will bury you in endless paperwork, they will restrict your right to work, but you are, quote, free to leave. Due to these difficulties, very few people do leave, but the illusion of mobility is maintained. If only 1 out of 1,000 cows escapes, but the illusion of escaping significantly raises the productivity of the remaining 999, it remains a net gain for the farmer. You are also kept on the farm through licensing. The most productive livestock are the professionals. So the rulers fit them with an electronic dog collar called a license, which only allows them to practice their trade on their own farm.
Well, whether you like it or not, whether you appreciate this or not, Obama does not need, in fact, to show his birth certificate, because actually, lawfully, it's not necessary for him to show the certificate. And so that's why he doesn't bother, because he knows, like I do, that it's not lawfully required that for him to show his birth certificate to be the President of the United States. And here's why. It's because he's not the President of the United States of America, the Republic. He's the President of a privately owned corporation. It's a corporation. It's a company.
Yep.
Well, hell, we got plenty of corporations right here in California in which the president of the corporations are not Americans. They're Japanese, or they're Chinese, or they're Russians, or they're Europeans who happen by chance to be living in Los Angeles, who are presidents of their corporations. But they don't have to show their birth certificate for them to be the president of their corporation. Japanese, I've met Japanese people who are heads of their corporations here. They don't need to have a birth certificate to be the president of their corporation. It's their company. And so that's all the United States is, a corporation. It's a privately owned company, a corporation, not the government of America. It's a privately owned corporation. It's a company. And people don't understand that. But you do understand that banks have a president. General Motors has a president. Ford Motor Company has a president. Baskin-Robbins has a president. Sears has a president. All corporations must have a president. So we have a president of a corporation. The corporation was then founded. It was incorporated in 1871 by a group of men who formed a privately owned corporation called United States, for God's sake. It's a privately owned corporation that became a municipal corporation, and it's a company. And people don't realize that. And so Obama's just the president, like my friend who is a president of the bank down here on Ventura Boulevard. He's the president of the bank. He can be the president of the bank. He doesn't have to show the bank his birth certificate because he's just the president of a company, a corporation. This is what the American people don't understand. Obama's not the president of America. He's the president of a corporation. Period. It's a company. Now, if you really want to get smart, do something really clever. Read a book and start finding out who owns the United States Corporation, incorporated in Delaware, 1871. Who owns the privately owned company? Now you're getting somewhere. Now you're getting to the bottom of the line on how this stuff really works. And so I have been talking about all of this for a long time, but people do not understand. The United States is not a country. It's a corporation. This is why if you go to us.gov, you will see on the web anywhere when you go to any government agency called U.S. government, it will always have a little round circle at the end of the word United States, a little round circle with a C in it. It means it's copyrighted. It's a copyrighted term, United States, like Baskin-Robbins, Sears. It's like Ford Motor Company. It's a copyrighted corporation name. It's a company, for God's sake. Wake up. Obama is the president of a corporation, a company, not the president of America. The president of America, the United States of America, the land of the free and home of the brave, that's been gone for a long time, since 1871. Now, the person who would be the president of the United States of America, the Republic, would by law have to show that it was born here. But you don't have to show anything if you are not the president of the United States. You're president of a corporation. You understand what I'm saying?
It's all just business.
It's just business.
A million people die, it's just business.
Look at, they figure you're going to get screwed anyway because you're so damn stupid, and you're never going to do anything on your own to get yourself out of the mess you're in. So since you're so profoundly ignorant,
you deserve what you get.
Stupid, you might as well just, so that's why they don't even bother to tell you, because there's nothing you're going to do about it anyway. nothing you're going to do about it anyway. You've been ahead. It's over. 1871, it was finished. It was over. And that's why before 1871, if you remember the old cowboy movies, the old John Wayne cowboy movies, the cowboys get right into town with their guns on their hips and go in the bar, and if they have a falling out, they could walk out in the street. And right in front of the sheriff's office, they made movies, the old cowboy movies, where the cowboys could ride into town with their guns. They didn't have to have a permit. They didn't have any police. The reason why you have a police is because in 1871, a privately owned company, a corporation, was founded in Delaware. And that corporation cannot make laws, but they do have policy. Like steers, they have a policy. It's not God's law. It's not the law of the land. It's just steers, their law. It's called their policy.
Got it.
So therefore, the corporation called United States, founded in 1871, has their own policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the policy is decided by the politicians and backed up by the police. Police back up the policy of the politicians that work for the corporation. Wake up. It's a new day. The world